Hello, Joan. Welcome to our Heart Gardens Gaia
Thank you,
Zoom.
Shannon.
Yay.
Glad to be here.
Me too. It was a challenging day getting here. But here it is on the 26th of January, 2021.
That's correct. Yeah, it is 26. My goodness.
Yeah, just flies by.
Next week is going to be February.
I haven't got a response back yet.
From Robin?
From Robin. And this is really, really exciting. I just want to tell our viewers about what has happened.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So what has happened is that quite a while ago, I sent an email to my local food policy council telling them about the Our Heart Gardens opportunity. And I sent it off with a prayer, and I didn't get a response back for a long time. I think it was because she was busy with many other things. And that is truly what is going on for most people these days. Yeah. So what happened was she finally got back to me, and she had a report that she had done at the request of the Food Policy Council. And I had met Robin at the Butler Urban Garden. And I didn't realize that she was the one who was the manager of the food hub that was a pilot project. And I sent that letter that I sent was to Robin McLean, food hub manager, and I didn't know who that was. And so when I met her at the garden, I didn't put it together, but she did. And that was a lot of fun at the time. And then time went by. And so when she responded this time, finally, after months, that was back in September. And so she finally got back to me. And it was a lovely response in offering the report that she had written at the request of the Kamloops Food Policy Council to assess the current state of the food security in Kamloops. And that was quite a report. And Robin asked me to look at the report from the perspective of Our Heart Gardens. And Joan, my good friend, and I went through my first download, and we went through the report piece by piece and responded to what we saw from the perspective of Our Heart Gardens. And it was so good, I felt, that I thought the job was done. And then I offered it to the people in Chat Action, because that's who I spend my mornings with. Chat Action after Humanity Rising, the people who were active in the chat and were invited into a Zoom room dedicated to them. And for the after chat, after Humanity Rising's session, we go into the Zoom room of Stan Grof to talk about what we've heard. Every day it is vibrant conversation and talking about solutions and how to go forward in a good way and what can we do. And so I value their opinion. And these are really top-notch people. A lot of them retired from, very educated and responsible positions, professionals. And so there was one person who said that you need to have a really good beginning. And then there was someone else who said that I should forward it to one particular member because she is so perceptive and so good. And so after we did the play-by-play, I provided that to Leslie, and Leslie got back to me and said, you have to do better because they're not going to go through all of this. You need to make a pilot project idea. And so using Leslie's guidance, Joan and I created a beautiful proposal for a pilot project. And so I have sent that off to Robin. She hasn't responded yet. So I'm not going to share that letter, the one that holds the pilot project, but I do want to talk about the Kamloops Food Policy Council assessment review from the OG's point of view. And so,
good idea.
What do you think, Joan? Should I share screen so you guys can see what it is?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, let me do that.
Because it helps to hear and to see at the same time.
It does. And then if you don't hear a word, you can figure it out by looking at what's there. Like, there we go. Share we go.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yes.
See my messy room.
Looks wonderful.
So, the Kamloops Food Policy Council assessment review from OG's point of view. And I provided the link for the Kamloops Food Policy report, and I should put that link in the chat. So just in case I remember to provide that, there it is.
It is. Yeah.
So there are many points to bring forward and consider. And the one that spurred the creation of this document to collect my responses in the moment that I read them was decolonization may not be possible without both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working towards a common goal. My response to that is we are all at a point where commercialization, the system, and any personal choice for ease and comfort have distanced us from the land. Few have any food sovereignty. We are one, and we rise together or fall apart, dying alone in a hostile environment. So, back to the beginning. And so it goes on. Page 1 was dedicated to an acknowledgement of the land of the Secwepemc peoples, the people who have the Indian reservation across the river from where I live and have been the counterpart to the civilization that I grew up in. When I left here, my comment was something like, the town's a bunch of cowboys and Indians in a dust bowl. I did not have a lot of respect for it back then, but I have grown in my appreciation of it, and I'm really glad. OGs provides a way to focus on the gifts and wisdom of the people of the land upon which each unique OG stands, and upon the people who were born there. They are pillars of the culture that is nurtured and of the container created. Food is the means and the primary reason for gathering, and it is creating and living in a new culture that inspires and empowers us to raise good, engaged kids and provide a way for future generations to live joyfully upon Mother Earth. Page 2 was the index, and page 3 talks about our ideal food system, one that is regenerative, sovereign, and just. And it talks about the theory of change for Kamloops Food Policy Council as an organization. We believe change can be made in the Kamloops food system through education, programs, policy, and partnerships. And my response was a worthy ideal, and each one of these have been used in the past. We still have a system that is not ideal. Delivering them, bringing them into view within reach of people to experience how each uplifts individuals and enhances the real world experience of community is one of the key intentions and benefits of OGs. That's how you see it too, isn't it, Joan?
Yes, absolutely.
So putting education, programs, policy, and partnerships all together in the OG's basket, along with food, it has the synergy that is necessary in order to make that leap that we're trying to figure out how we're going to land.
And the OGs has always been about more than just the food. It's about the people who come and who get together and learn from each other and learn about respecting each other and that kind of thing. And it's a wonderful, wonderful idea.
Thank you, Joan. Your help throughout the years has been, I would not have been able to do it without you. And I thank you deeply.
My pleasure always.
On page 5, the statement is said, now just to be clear about how this document that you're looking at is set up, the words that are on the margin to the left are words from the report. Mine are indented. So they're words on page 5. But value statements and assessments acknowledge a need to expand to a more regional focus. My response was, oh, geez, acknowledges both the need for a community to be self-sustaining, able to see the needs of the community it serves, as well as the need to create, seek, and maintain communication with the worldwide network that has been forming since Paul Hawkins first pointed out the movement of movements in 2007. They go on to mention mindsets and power dynamics and a draft theory of change, knowledge briefs, complexity and systems change. And that gave rise to my comment, the theory of change through education, programs, policy, and partnerships needs to be implemented from and at the grassroots level. Currently, there is no place for these disparate parts to come and work together. Synergy is an important component of OGs, the sharing of space by different organizations and individuals. It is not the ivory tower telling people how to behave or who to associate with or what to learn. Practicing listening to each other in small, diverse circles, we learn to respect each other. The wisdom of elders and teachers, the excitement of youth, and the concerns we each hold. Together we see the experience of others, and together we develop policy and behavior that suits our needs. It is through connection that the mycelium you suggest, that's mentioned in the report, that you suggest we imitate functions. OGs is inspired by biomimicry. The report goes on to talk about a resilient food system and the vision that the Kamloops Food Policy Council, Robin put it into beautiful words, and I don't have them at hand at the moment, but part of it is the food system in Kamloops and area is resilient and adaptive in the face of potential climate and economic upsets. Well, yeah, that is a worthy goal. The current status, though, is some aspects of the value statement are developing. Ongoing exploitation of land, water, and resources remains a key economic driver. The impacts of anthropogenic climate change are seen and felt throughout the region. Mitigation efforts remain limited. Land and water continue to be polluted by industry and the use of pesticides. There remains no citywide organic waste management system. A worthy vision, I said, but the reality is discouraging. The speed of climate change is increasing and could erase these modest gains and more in one event. We cannot continue moving at the speed of government or consensus. We need a way to grow the majority of our food independent from the land until it recovers from past disrespect and the weather calms. We need to learn to know we can depend on each other and the gifts of the earth and to love one another as if we really are one being. I hear noises behind here.
Kate just joined us. Kate.
Kate. Oh, Kate, I can't see you because I'm screen sharing.
It's all good.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. It's all good. Wonderful. Just carry on. Beautiful. It's a worthy vision, is what I'm reading.
Thank you so much, Kate. Let me just give you a brief catch up on this. I'm reading through the review I did of the Kamloops Food Policy Council report, an assessment that was made by Robin, and this was in reply to her invitation for me to look at the report from the point of view of our heart gardens. And
excellent.
Yeah, so their vision is limited, and the status is alarming. The reality is discouraging, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a change, because a sea change is needed in our society. We could wait for nature to provide further impetus for the lessons to be learned, or we can learn together the power of individual choices made together. This is what I call POP, the power of people. Empowering and embodying POP, we have the ability to change our lives and our world. The words from the report are up against the margin on the left, and my words are slightly indented. And the report goes on to say, until Indigenous peoples are key decision makers regarding land, water, and environmental justice, Indigenous food sovereignty cannot be fully achieved. My response was, Indigenous refers to all people. And I put a link to a search that I did that provides the information that backs that statement up, just like Phil Lane Jr. talks about, right, Kate? So some Indigenous people are closer to the land than others and know more about it. Culturally appropriate foods have been replaced in diets of most people. We buy and eat what the system sells us. Everyone has trauma and burdens, unless gifted beyond the ordinary. Our challenge is to find the common ground, foods that support us all with dignity and respect for each other and all that is. We all need better food, and we each need to enjoy our food. I believe First Nations people and elders of all races should be honored and empowered to share their wisdom however and as often as they desire. The costs they have paid throughout their lives pave the way. Their stories and skills must be caught or lost. This is an opportunity for young people to engage with elders, practicing their skills with computer, video, and interviewing skills in service to elders' willingness to engage and the sharing of wisdom. It is through engagement that sparks are lit and realizations. Learning happens. We are all colonized, traumatized, and unheard mostly. We can heal together as we work side by side without desperation or commercialization, and meet in small, diverse sharing circles designed to create close bonds through listening and sharing, opportunities for healing and learning, and generation of joy and music. The report's section on poverty and access to culturally appropriate food brought this answer from me. The market system is not designed to meet the needs of all people, only the people who can pay for them. We need an alternate system. Our concentration on the problems has increased the malaise, and we desperately need something positive to focus on. Giving people something easy or hard, or using their existing skills or learning new skills, or using their bodies or their communication skills, using a discerning tool to identify and engage people as they desire and grow and share food. In OGs, people tell the cooks what they like to eat. The cooks tell the master gardeners what they need. The master gardeners see what seeds are at hand, or buy or trade for them, and tell their circles of pop managers how to do what's necessary. Data people set up schedules so cycles can be automatically attended to, and participants check the schedule so they know what needs to be done. The OG's logo above has little people in a circle, their feet extending outside the circle. They hold sparks, blue crystals, between their joined hands. The tagline is, "Let's get our heads together and create something to remember." There's a forget-me-not flower in the center of their circle. I believe we can create it. The next part of the report is the current upstream programs with a hand-up approach make an impact in the community, but would have to significantly increase in scale to transform the food system. Teach a man to fish is one of the adages that speaks to the purpose of OGs. The intent is to offer transparent learning by doing, productive, needed work to provide opportunities for self-satisfaction and knowledge sharing. OGs is a new opportunity that would enable an incredibly significant increase in scale. Social Argonaut is a new kind of helper and teacher in service of people in need. Seeking win-win-win solutions through the application of the gifts and skills of technology and connection, people's needs are met, and the mission of agencies formed to serve those needs are fulfilled. Connections are made that serve both and. I just want to point out that social argonauts is a term that's been was created by Stan Grof, who created the chat people in the chat action group after Humanity Rising. And I was fascinated by his term because it works so well in the OG's environment.
And what's that term not used to describe the gentleman who spoke today, Shannon? I believe that term was used to describe Matthew. Anyway.
Yes.
Very appropriate and interesting.
Yeah.
You're an absolute wordsmith.
Oh.
Your replies are always so brilliant and always bring people to the, outside of themselves to the Earth Mother.
Oh.
You do exactly what you're sent here to do. And that's why I'm here. Got to be the big fan of the stuff that works.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That is manna for my body and my soul, I tell you. Thank you so much, Kate. And let me continue. I love my words too. The interconnectivity and knowledge provided by the social Argonauts, accessible to all who participate in OGs, creates a depth of scope necessary to support people in the unfolding and uniting of the multi-level data-driven society that humanity will not give up. I believe we might give up our cars before we'd give up our phones. Yeah. The report continues facilitation support under the banner of the Changing the Face of Poverty group. The initial meetings of this group showed a lot of excitement for building on the work done through this collaboration to make more strides towards addressing poverty and food security. In brackets, I've got changing the face of poverty. Start with changing the huge scowling face on the mural on the side of the building downtown. That uplifts no one. It was just really a bad choice. But to get back to the report, the excitement of this group could be channeled into creating a refuge, a positive step forward for people in perhaps the memorial arena in which they are provided small personal areas to stay in, surrounded by walls of planters, temporary housing, and a workforce who know each other or will soon, with the responsibility of tending the plants that will feed them, training and support supplied. Government agencies, Thompson River University students, retired or persons currently not engaged in a job, help them prepare our first OGs and to welcome people who will be empowered to participate in a good way. This is the opportunity for the system to step back from a responsibility it cannot honor by providing resources, knowledge, and support to the creation of the pond from which we will fish. Just because they're poor doesn't mean they don't have skills and a desire to change the world, and their time and effort must be honored and appreciated. They must be listened to and consulted. The sharing must start from the ones who are perceived to be in power, who must then listen, add their perspective, and find ways to help. Trained facilitators are needed as part of the structure of small circles. Rules and privacy must be respected. People need to be respected, responded to, and honored. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Going forward, our network celebrating people as gifts and the cultivation of connections. Partnerships will help the Kamloops Food Policy Council broaden its reach and effectiveness in addressing their broad vision and value statements. My words, I imagine Kamloops creating the flagship OGs and beginning a swirl of yeses that lead to the vision written in the 2030 retrospective that I wrote. My response to the invitation of the More Beautiful world to imagine what would happen when our personal passions fruited. I enjoyed that retrospective. and writing it was a lot of fun. The report goes on. Local economic vitality, support for regional food providers. The corporate food industry continues to be a dominating food source in the community. Equitable labor conditions and wages for farmers continue to be problematic. Current regulatory bodies act as a difficult barrier to local food production for both farmers and entrepreneurs. The Kamloops Food Policy Council hopes to secure funding for a few major initiatives and potential collaborations that, if realized, would bring major advances in this value statement. These include a food hub for the Kamloops region, focusing on processing and distribution. And I respond, the corporate system can be viewed as the stomach of the one we are. It has chewed us up and spat us back when we had no more to give. People who care about each other do not do that. We must pick each other up, lean on each other as we rise to stand with pride within what we build together. It is our system of exchange, and it must be trained, supported, and controlled to serve us, the human beings that create it. And now support it, not serve it. People will continue to participate in that system for money and then come to eat and share time and energy with their community. The food is the draw that keeps them coming back. When you can get a good, healthy meal for a couple of hours watching kids or transplanting seedlings, it's easy to offer energy at OG's. Food literacy, intergenerational knowledge transfer and sharing best practices and research. These are the pillars of the OG's concept. See 4 Families Plus, linked above. Elders and kids walking together around the facility provides exercise and sharing time for both. 2 kids with an elder allows one to walk close, help, and take notes, and the other to focus outward. 6 eyes open, less is missed. Eyes on provides an in real life perspective best for truth and tasks to be addressed. If we are to break the hold the corporate system has on POP, the power of people, we must teach our children how to grow food. There is a belief that growing food is easy. It's not. We cannot afford to waste the energy of each person willing to grow food by each one doing their own trial and error. Growing the crops in huge batches leaves humans out of the equation and helpless when the crops fail. We can capitalize on the knowledge of our master gardeners by asking them to direct our actions indoors, where we have more control, and outdoors, where insects can access them, and the circulation of the plants and seedlings to the right places when appropriate, and direct our actions at harvest time. Special ways of growing, hydroponics, etc., must be monitored and studied by TRU, for example, maintained and tended. The report goes on to say community gardens are continually increasing, but they are currently at capacity, so there may be a need for more. My response is yes, surely. And see above, remaximizing master gardeners' effectiveness. There are many reasons personal plots don't serve individuals or the community, as well as combining our energy to garden communally, as tribal people of the land have in the past. Regarding the food commons, the revitalization of local food assets and the sharing economy, the report says widespread mindsets of food and land as commodity, scarcity and individualism, platforms for bartering and trade remain extremely limited. OG's was designed to be a moneyless environment, except for special pieces by artisans and artists and food prepared and served to customers who do not offer their time and energy to OG's. It is specially designed to offer a social atmosphere that costs the participants nothing, so all are included and supported in learning and joining in. That being said, it is understood that some paid positions will be important to the success of the facility. Finding how to meet individuals' needs so they can participate is the mission of OG's social Argonauts and others. Asking people their needs and abilities and honoring them allows people to see value in themselves outside of what's in their wallets. Social Argonauts are primarily tasked with the education, entertainment, and communication of their community through technology, film and video that inform and uplift their community. They are the messengers and formulators of the mindset that will give rise to the healthy communities we seek within the city we love. Until we have food sovereignty and a way to raise our children in love and security, the system has a stranglehold on us and we cannot breathe. We break the hold of the corporations when we do not need them anymore. Let us break free, embrace a new reality. Oh, geez, what will we be? Thank you for offering me the opportunity to review your report from the perspective of our heart gardens. My imagination lures me to consider your funding efforts and offer to help in any way I can. My trip to Mexico has been put off until fall. Oh, geez, the possibilities are endless when we put our heads together. Let's create something worth remembering.
Yay. Always sounds great. Always, always.
Well, it's been quite a marathon trying to get that out as timely as I wanted it to be. I got that on Friday, and I responded last night.
Yeah. Well
and what I did, Kate, she hasn't responded, so I don't even know if she's even read the email that I sent her. But basically, with Leslie's guidance, she suggested that bureaucrats often don't have the time or energy to wade through an 8-page document full of data. And so what Leslie suggested I do was suggest a pilot program. And so I did. And while I mentioned the memorial arena in this document, I was hit by something that I had come across when I was researching the possibilities in Kamloops years ago. And what I found was there was a community garden off in Brocklehurst where the Indigenous people had created a garden, and they were doing almost exactly what our Heart Gardens is all about, except for the repurposing of indoor, of buildings. They had, the programs and the support services and the gardens, outdoor gardens. And when I went in there and told them about it, we're already doing this. It's like, well, what do I do now? And what I did was I was called away, and I had to go and do what I was doing. But I remembered the place. And when I went to look again, I found that they had closed down. They had sold the place, and they had moved to Palm Street. And Palm Street has that to consolidate their efforts for the Indigenous people of the area. And that place is like across the street or just down the block from our food bank. It's also, which is also right next to the Butler Urban Farm, which I participated in a couple of times. And so they know me. And so I suggested that we approach the Indigenous People Friendship Society and say, hey, listen, we want to bring you in. You already know what is necessary. And you want to teach this stuff. Let's get together and work on reconciliation. See how we can weave this. We have a shared future. And we need a way to make good for the transgressions of the past. And so I think that the pilot project that was proposed was pretty good, Joan. What do you think?
I do. I absolutely think it was quite good, quite good.
It was really exciting writing that and having Leslie's guidance in how to go about it was invaluable. You know, having someone on your team that has the tools and the know-how of how to approach bureaucrats is just amazing. And so, yeah, this is definitely the fun part.
Yes, very much so.
Oh.
Oh, thank you.
Do that again.
Do it again. Oh, that's wonderful.
One more time.
Goes right through me. Ooh, tinkles down. I love it.
Well, I tell you, of all of the things that have happened, this is the most exciting step forward for our heart gardens that has happened.
Because you're connecting with the people who can open the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
our heart gardens to blossom.
I think back to when I went to Europe, when I was working with United Earth, and we created that COP21. That was, no, we created Calm 21. It was in juxtaposition to COP21. And so they invited me to come for that conference, and it was an amazing conference, and we had a wonderful time. And I went home with an invitation to come back and be part of an intentional community. And what I didn't realize at the time was that it was because of the Our Heart Gardens concept that I had been invited. But I didn't twig to that. So it wasn't the biggest step forward. And what was true about that was it wasn't a step forward. It was a learning experience. Mm-hmm. And I learned an awful lot because we had the buildings.
Exactly. I remember. I remember.
But I didn't know who I was and what I could do. And
yet you had the stories and you had the ideas. It's just that they weren't converging inside.
That's right. The change had to happen within me. Yeah. And now I'm seeing the possibilities. And no, I'm seeing more than the possibilities. I'm seeing
reality.
I'm seeing the path that is laid out, that was laid out for me before I embodied here. And I'm just, you know, doing my best to keep in alignment with the path.
You're doing a good job.
Well, sometimes I feel that way, and there are other times I don't. I'm as human as the next one.
Absolutely. But from the perspective of someone who's watching you and been with you and seen all that you've gone through, it's good job. It's good work. Very good work.
Thank you, Joe. Oh. Well, you guys, you're my biggest fan club. I just love you both. Just
yay!
It's amazing stuff.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah. I'm going to have to sign out.
Yeah, you rest well. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Good to see you, Kate.
Likewise, Joan.
Ah, how lovely.
Yeah.
I'm so glad she stopped in.
It was lovely.
Yeah, you know, she's been my friend since IPUN. The the Indigenous. It was Chief Phil Lanes Jr. Indigenous Wisdom for Unified Action, yeah, that was an amazing course, and I'm watching him now working with the good of the whole, and he's still working with Jan Golding and Shelley Darling and the whole crew. To see them being so successful, at least from my point of view, they look extremely successful, and I'm so glad for them. And they're still a part of my reality. I mean, I don't work with them anymore, but they inspire me almost every day. Well, maybe not almost, because on my wall is the United Earth Wheel of Synergy.
I love that. That is so beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? Let me read you the different sectors of the wheel.
Oh, yes.
Justice and sovereignty and governance are in down at about 7 o'clock. And about 8 o'clock would be spirituality, personal development, and religion. Next is relations, peace building, and community. Next is learning and education, media and communications. At 12 o'clock is food, environment, and water, right at the top, absolutely.
Where it should be.
Yes, health, wellness, and family. Science, technology, and energy. At 3 o'clock is housing, infrastructure, and transport.
Wow.
Arts and culture are 4. And 5 is resource sharing, economics, and trade. And at 6 o'clock, at the base of the circle, is ancient wisdom.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Those just resonate so beautifully with me.
Absolutely.
I just love those. And right in the center is a knot of many colors. And I have it.
Very Celtic.
It's very Celtic. You know what it is? It's 3 paper clips. And all the different pieces colored in appropriate colors. And I tell you, it is one of the most beautiful logos I've ever seen. And I remember when it was being created, just an amazing piece of work. And I have a little decal on my Apple computer so that instead of an apple showing through, it brightens up the logo.
That's
Sorry,
cool.
Apple.
Yeah. But that's, I love that, the way it looks and what it represents. Reminds me a lot of the women's circles, situation, you know, when I used to go, there was, I don't know, it was such an inspiring experience for me.
Yeah. Well, women's festivals are very inspiring.
They are.
Yeah.
And I need that.
Yeah. Yeah. I might not have. I don't know. Yes, of course I do. I have pictures. I swear I have pictures of some pictures from the Women's Festival at which I have the picture here. I walked on fire and I broke an arrow with my throat. This is the arrow.
Oh, wow.
These are goose feathers. And they were left by geese, almost like an acknowledgement when when some guy said to me that he didn't know much about geese, but they looked like they could be formidable. And I said, they absolutely are. You do not argue with them. They will get the better of you.
Absolutely.
And there was the feathers that on the ground for me. And so I picked them up and I put them on the peace arrow. And the way that happened, the breaking of that arrow, I'm just getting a little piece of paper here so I can show you. We went into this gazebo tent, and there's like maybe 35 or 40 of us women, and we're given a piece of paper and markers, and we're told to draw a picture of what we want. The thing that we want more than anything, the thing that we live for. Yeah. And so I drew a picture, and I am not an artist. Well, I didn't see myself as an artist back then.
Right.
And I embodied that statement. At the time, I wasn't an artist, because you can see this is not very good art, but there is the world.
Oh.
And the little blue things around it is us, basically, with our sparks. And up here is the building that is repurposed and growing hearts. So it's our heart gardens.
Oh, that is perfect.
And birds flying in a blue sky and a green sun. Now, yeah, well, they didn't have a yellow crayon that worked. And so and maybe that's prophetic. I don't know. You know, maybe because of the changes in the climate, maybe we will end up seeing the sunlight as green. I don't know.
Well, you know, green is part of the spectrum. Roy G. Biv.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, why not?
Yeah. So
but it was great. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you. So what they did was they took my piece of paper and a round slice of a tree. So it's got all the circles of the years showing, and they put that up against the chest of a woman. And then put the point of the arrow against the paper, against the the lozenge of wood against the chest of the woman. And the other end, so that would have been this end up against her chest and the paper. The business end of it went right here.
Ooh. Oh my goodness.
They told us, speak, yell, express how passionate you are at the same time as thrusting yourself forward and break the arrow.
Wow.
I did it.
Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious green.
Hey?
Goodness gracious green. It's a saying I use all the time. Green. Like this then.
Goodness gracious green. Yeah, absolutely. And that was scary. And I watched people do it.
Wow.
And I watched one woman unable to do it. And I watched other people do it, and it, you know, how passionate am I? I did some soul searching on that one, and you know, I broke that arrow. Yeah. It's absolutely what I live for. That's what I was designed to be here for. And to see the steps on the way to the realization of that dream. This is what I'm here for. And then I went out and I walked on fire.
Oh.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. They are amazing. I too, I have many memories actually from women's circles, because I went maybe 4 or 5 years, you know, in a row. But the ones that stick with me a great deal, just first of all, it was an amazing experience. And we had a really, really, every year, you know, we went through
Rites of Passage.
Yeah, very much so. And so one of the things that stays with me is at the very end of my first year there, I was saying goodbye to some of the people, and this woman whose name is Sapphire, she said to me, "You are a brave woman," because I was so riddled with my panic disorder that it was a very difficult thing to actually do. I had gone out of where I lived into the next state over for the first time in a long time, and I did it on my own and whatnot. And so I got my name, Brave Woman, there. That was very, very memorable. And I have a little placard that I had used where it says Brave Woman, and it's got feathers and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Another thing that stays with me is that enough is enough of that goblin mud that I had told you about. It was a part of a ritual, because every morning we sat in circle and different things came up, but that one was particularly interesting. And we always made medicine bundles for ourselves each year and stuff. So all of that is really, really amazing. And I think of that. And one of the other things that sticks with me that didn't happen in women's circles, but outside, I had moved to Wisconsin, and one of the women who I had been with at women's circles came to visit me while she was there, and she became very ill, and I took care of her. I helped her, into my apartment, and I just completely, totally devoted myself to caring for her. And I got her to a hospital eventually. She was very sick, and everything worked out fine. And then the next time that I went to women's circles, she was there, and it was just the most wonderful reunion because she was healed, and it was just amazing. And she sent me these beautiful, in thanks for caring for her, I was amazed, these beautiful, they're not china, they're like crockery or pottery, but they're dishes from Williams-Sonoma. And there's a cup and saucer thing, and the cup has a little top on it. You put over the top of the cup to keep it hot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's a bowl that I eat from every morning. Wow. That's where I have my my oatmeal in every morning. And that stayed with me so much to have had that kind of experience and situation. And it brought me to who I really was, the caretaker.
When, Joan, I really want to point out that these rites of passage and these liminal moments that happen because of programs put on by people who know what they're doing and who can facilitate these spectacular learning experiences, opportunities for growth and visioning. That's what our Heart Gardens is designed to facilitate, to make possible. Yeah. We have been sequestered off in our ourselves, our four walls, with a few other people, but those few other people, I mean, you get enough of them. And so this is a way of expanding your circle. And not having to go outside of your community in order to have to do that. Yeah. Going to the next state is a little bit much just to have, a rite of passage. Although maybe the traveling is a rite of passage, and I believe that the traveling is necessary too.
Because of my agoraphobia, it was important. It was like a major step for me. And whenever I came home, there was about a week's worth of completely different sense of the world and of myself. And it was amazing to have that. And I even found a place temporarily, because they closed down pretty quickly, in Poughkeepsie, of a women's circle that met on a weekly, or every week we met together. So it was kind of a little bit of a continuation type thing, but that is a piece of my life that just stays with me and keeps reminding me that I can, even when I think I can't, I can.
You sure can.
Yeah.
You're far more powerful than you know. And, you know, they have programs about, wilderness trainings where you learn how to, fall into the arms blindly of another person, things like that. Well, that's because we've been so traumatized by life as it is that we need to have those realizations, those powerful experiences that
absolutely
give us a way of reconnecting with the powerful individuals that live within us.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make notes here because I want to, in the website that I'm currently trying to get up, I'm not recording a lot of things. Like I'm not recording Thursday nights, but I'm keeping notes of the things that we talk about.
Yeah.
And for these, I know I want to honor the time of the people who come to listen, and also to throw out breadcrumbs. Okay, come on, come this way. This is interesting in here. This is what we talk about. So I'm putting down notes about the things that we talk about. Do you have a problem with my mentioning your panic disorder?
Not at all. My panic disorder can help to teach other people.
Yeah. And what was the other one? The agoraphobia?
Agoraphobia. I think my panic disorder began when I was very young, but it was very, very, I guess, random at that time. But I think somewhere around the time that I was 5 years old or something, I had a panic attack. I can't remember why, but this is something I remember. And I do remember when it really, a great deal of my teen life was completely immersed in drugs. And so I felt nothing, or I felt euphoria. But, but that was really to sort of get away from the fear. When I started going to college and doing things like that, I had situations where I didn't know. I honestly didn't know why I couldn't go into a mall and stay there. I didn't know why I couldn't go into a restaurant and not stay there after I finished eating. I had to get out of that restaurant. And it was all part of the panic disorder. When I moved up here with my parents, I came up with the 2 cats, and we stayed up here for the first week while they were finishing packing everything to come up. So while I was up here, I was like thrilled. I was going to have this place up here, and I could explore it, and I couldn't walk out of the front door. Didn't know what was going on, but it turned out to be agoraphobia, which is coming from the panic disorder, it just goes into a deeper, more, you hide, you end up, you can't leave, you can't go out, you can't do anything. And it's very frightening and whatnot. So to have gone out of Wappingers Falls out of New York to Massachusetts was it happened because I was receiving, we have up here in New York, we have a place called, I want to remember it. Gosh, I got it. Honey, do you know the name of that place upstate? Up where Omega Institute. The Omega Institute.
He's good.
No, he didn't say it. I did.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, Omega Institute is a place where people go to classes and learn, and it's an amazing place. Well, I used to get catalogs from another place called Row Camp and Conference Center, which is where Women's Circles is. And so I would get their things and I would look at them, and and then one year I just said, this sounds really good and like something I really need to do. Mm-hmm. And I did. And it was amazing.
Yeah. One of the thoughts that came up with the Our Heart Gardens idea is a moon room, basically a room for women to get away from everything and just be together. And so, yes, the rites of passage of a young woman, an old woman, women. And there's no reason why there shouldn't be also a room for men. And
up there is. I mean, basically, Women's Circles was at the end of August. The beginning of September, around Labor Day, was the men's gay group. They got to go up for a weekend. And the whole year, Row Camp and Conference Center has a whole year of different things.
Wow.
Going year round. It's the
sounds to me, Joan.
The UUs. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the UUs?
No.
Unitarian Universalists.
Oh, okay. Not Ubiquity University.
No. Unitarian Universalist Church. They're the people who run Row Camp and Conference Center. And that's where Women's Circles held their meetings for a week, a full week. It was,
oh my God,
wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and they have weekends and they have weeks and they have, all different kinds of things. And I haven't been there for a long time, unfortunately, but.
I hope you manage to get there again soon.
We tried. Alex and I actually tried.
Really?
But to go, what we wanted to do was to take a vacation. And this was when we moved into this house. It was when we moved in here, right, honey? Remember we were going to go visit Kate? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we were going to go up to visit a lady named Kate, who was a very good friend of my father's. After my mother passed away, online, he met her, and a great, wonderful, wonderful woman who lives in Maine, of all places, But Maine is a place where my mother and father used to go camping. They were very, and so we were going to do that. And on the way, we were going to go through Massachusetts and stop at Row. We had it all set up. We were going to stay at this place near Row and go over to visit Row Conference Center. We were going to go then across basically in New England, through Vermont and New Hampshire and go up into Maine. And then we were going to go down to Massachusetts to visit my cousin. I have a cousin in Massachusetts by Boston. And we were going to go down and visit them and in a place called Rockport, which is a place where my mother and father camped, almost all the time after they stopped going to other places. And I had to have a root canal done and we couldn't go. So we had to cancel everything. So we never got to do that.
I'm so sorry. That would have been so good.
It really would have been. Yeah. It was going to be a vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. And God knows we need vacations.
Oh, yeah.
we mentioned drugs, and I want to mention that Humanity Rising had a session. I believe it could have been yesterday, because it's Tuesday today. It would have been yesterday. So that would probably be day number 167, I think. Wow. The beginning of a 7-month celebration for the 90th birthday of one of the first people who was a psychonaut, a tripper on LSD.
Are we talking about Timothy Leary, or are we talking about
a friend of his?
Carlos Castaneda too.
Oh, I know there was a whole bunch of them, but the person that we're talking about is the mover and shaker, I think, of Esalen.
Esalen Institute.
Yes,
I know all about that.
It's him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was an amazing presentation on Humanity Rising. And his birthday is actually in July. So, okay. And I guess it's only 6 months, not 7. But that he is celebrated in his 90th year for the work that he has done in support of mental illness research
and drug abuse.
They have done so many studies. They've done so much work, so much good work that is in support of people with trauma and PTSD. And I am so grateful for his existence and for what he has created. And so I did want to bring that in.
That's cool. The place that I went to that was the beginning of my not using, didn't completely stick, but was Phoenix House in New York.
Phoenix House.
Yeah, it was a drug rehab center, and I had OD'd, and my parents wanted me to go to Phoenix House, and so I did. And when you first go, you go every day. You take a trip into Manhattan, and you go to this part of Phoenix House where they have, like, all of us come. And we sit and we go through, meetings and stuff like that. I'm very much probably akin to AA meetings, but very different in its own way. And then you go through that first week and you are eligible to become a resident of Phoenix House. So I spent from February, March, April, and May, I think 4 months in Phoenix House. And then one day I just decided I didn't want to be there anymore. It was a great place. But I just felt I want to go. And I did. And they called my parents and they said, don't let her into the house. Tell her to come back.
Oh.
But and it was a very good place. And I do give them accolades for the work that they do, and such,
accolades. I want to give them also an accolade, and it doesn't have anything to do with you, except for the fact that you mentioned Phoenix House, because Phoenix House was there for me when I was broken. I just finished reading my Traumas of Awakening again, and it, of course, brought back all those traumas. And one of them, of course, was being in the hospital for breakdown, otherwise known as mental illness.
I know it well.
Yeah. And one day I was, I asked to go for a walk. They said I couldn't leave the grounds, so I went around the building. And on my way around the building, there was a big field that was inaccessible. You couldn't get to it. There was, you know, they had like across a bridge where you have these round bars. So I leaned on that to get some green in me. And I noticed that way off there was a stream. And by the stream in the bushes, you could see a black bra tangled in the branches and a long black tiered skirt like the one I wear. It was caught in the branches as well. And I was moved. And I said a prayer. And I said, if there's anything I can do, let me. And I pulled myself together and I walked on, and I saw on the other side of the street, at the top of the building, there was a phoenix. And we had spoken about a phoenix in our art class that morning. And in the art class that morning, someone had colored a spray of tulips. Pretty yellow. I can remember it clear. And so I saw the phoenix, and so my attention was there. And then I looked to the bottom of the building, and there was a florist shop. And I thought, oh, I should go and see if I can get some daffodils and or some tulips and take them up to the ward. And when I got across the street, being a bad girl, crossing against the rules. So I got across the street and I went over, and I realized that the shop was closed. So I wasn't going to bring any tulips home, but it was such a pretty window. And so I walked around the window to see all of it. And as I got around the corner to see more beauty, I saw the next window had Kwantlen University written on it. And I thought, oh, I didn't know they had a location out here. I wonder what they teach here. And so I went in and I talked to them. And, you know, in my talking, you know, of course, I talk about our heart gardens, you know, and bulrushes and that was quite a conversation. I can imagine what the poor woman was, you know, this crazy woman, the ward across the hall, you know, street. But now knowing that the Phoenix House is so well known for that, that's amazing. But she said, do you know what we do here? And I said, no. And I that's exactly what I came to find out. And she ruffled through some papers and she handed them to me, and Sweat Lodge.
Ooh.
Bells rang out, banners flew, all inside of my mind.
Of course.
Because this was what I had dreamed of all my life. Since I was a child at my grandmother's knee, being read to from the big book of The Adventures of Hiawatha and the Peacemaker.
Oh, cool.
Oh, such a book and such adventures. And oh, to have a name like Hiawatha's girlfriend, she was Minnehaha, Laughing Waters. Yeah, right. And it was, so the sweat lodge was, I healed in the sweat lodge for a year, every Sunday. It was better by far than any church I had ever gone to. I had searched through many churches to find what I found on my knees in the sweat lodge. And yeah, so that's very sweet memory.
Very.
And it was in the back of the Phoenix house. There was a stream there, and after we were finished in the sweat lodge, we would go out, and the elder who poured for the women, she was the cook, and she brought food, and she fed us like kings. And leftovers were left for the birds, for the spirit.
Cool.
And the generosity and the willingness of people to embrace even me, this broken white woman. And I never felt that way when I was with them. And that's the gift.
Yeah, it is.
It's the gift that I want to give to everyone.
And you are.
In our heart gardens. I can't do it alone. We have to do it for each other. But we first have to make the facility so we can do it.
But we have the vision of the facility.
Yes.
You have on paper,
yeah,
on so many pieces of paper, exactly what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Ah. And so we have come full circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for traveling this with me, Joan.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
It fills me up. It does. In so many ways.
I do so want us all to be filled up, so full to overflowing.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Thank you for filling me up.
And thank you for filling me up. And thank you for our heart gardens here tonight in the OG's room.
Thank you so much for coming.
Room. It's wonderful.
I'm kind of not looking forward to when we have more than us. It was lovely to have Kate, and it's lovely to have you. We do have such good conversations.
We do. We do. Yeah.
Okay. We'll have another one soon. Tomorrow. Yes. And you guys don't get to come. Bye for now.